You're listening to the Multiverse Fan Cast, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
All right, then. On with the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Multiverse Fan Cast. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you get your podcast. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but some of our other shows like Cinematic Adventures and MF Uncensored. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is Sean. Sean, how are you today?
Oh, I am doing amazing, Paul. I cannot wait to talk about what we are going to talk about.
Why?
No reason. Just, we've been looking forward to this movie for a long time.
I'm so scared.
I don't know why.
All right. So we are here. We did take last week off just to give people a chance to see this film.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all of us. Like, I saw it late. You saw it late. Ronnie still hasn't seen it because he had a baby or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
We
did find out about that. Congratulations to Ronnie and his wonderful wife, Jackie.
So
for
dramatic.
having a
like, just bring
baby daughter.
Just bring the baby. Like, I don't know.
No.
You can't bring a newborn to a movie?
I really can't wait for you to have kids, man, because you were just going to be...
I make jokes, but in all honesty, I take this very seriously.
Oh, I'm sure you do.
Shut up. Shut up, man.
It's like 2 months after the baby's born. Hey, babe, let's go to the movies. We'll take the baby with us.
Yeah, it's fine.
She won't cry. He won't cry. They both won't cry.
Why both?
I'll put it out there.
No, it's already out there because apparently twins are genetic on my wife's side, and they're every other generation. And guess who's up next?
Oh.
I will actually. Oh God, I can't. I can't even imagine somebody sent help. But anyway, we are
double girl dad.
Oh my God, no, please no. We are here to talk about The Flash. So our last episode, we talked about the Flashpoint Paradox, which was the storyline that this movie is based off of, and now we are talking about the actual film. We'll spend a few minutes at the beginning of the episode just giving our non-spoiler thoughts, talking about the cast, things that we learned from trailers, and then we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we are going to literally go point by point, plot by plot. Accent by accent, apparently. Anyway, so the film is very simple premise. Basically, Barry Allen discovers that he has the ability to travel through time and uses that to prevent the death of his mother. Mm-hmm. Like, that is the story. And there was a lot of weird... anticipation's a weird word, right, for this movie. There was a lot of interest in this movie.
There's interest in this movie because obviously... and we really won't go into it because we've gone into it on numerous other episodes. The intrigue and interest in this movie is because of what's been going on with the DC Universe for the last 5 years.
Yes, and when we talk about the ending of this film, we will talk about there was 3 separate endings for this movie. And it is because of the change in DC leadership that we got the one that we did.
Yeah.
And obviously also the whole Ezra Miller situation and just how far gone Ezra Miller was at one point. And we've said it on the show, we said it last week too, that we will never disparage somebody for having an actual mental health crisis. Like, obviously people got hurt, which sucks. Like, he did some damage. We really hope that, he's getting the help that he...
That's all we can hope for. He's getting the help that he needs. I mean, he's got the support of the director. He's got the support of other actors.
And let's get this out of the way. I thought he was fantastic in this movie.
Okay.
Sean did not, apparently. And I will argue why when we get into the spoiler portion of this. But we're going to do our best to keep all that stuff out.
Absolutely.
We'll talk definitely about the DC leadership change and the Warner Brothers changes and all that stuff. But as far as the Ezra Miller stuff, separating, same thing when we had to talk about Kevin Spacey for our Lex Luthor episode. Like, there's the actor who's doing...
We're talking about the performance in the movie. That's it,
And Ezra Miller made his first public appearance too
at the red carpet,
premiere, and he seemed to be doing well. He talked a little bit about what was going on, but this cast is very small.
Yeah, it's not that big. So if you don't count the cameos that we'll talk about after the spoiler part.
So let's go through the cast, and then we'll talk about our initial thoughts. So obviously we mentioned Ezra Miller plays 2 versions of Barry Allen. Again, this is not some big surprise. This is from the trailers.
Yeah, we saw this in the trailer. Can I just say, when I started watching the movie yesterday, and I'm just like, holy crap, it's been almost 6 years since we pretty much saw this character on the screen for the last time.
Let's talk about that. We had him in
Justice League,
both the original and the Snyder Cut, and then one cameo. Or, excuse me, two cameos. One on The Flash and then one on Peacemaker.
Okay, which I've not seen. I saw the one in Crisis.
Yeah. You
know.
You didn't watch Peacemaker?
No, I haven't watched Peacemaker.
Oh, it was really good. Really good. But anyway, Mel and I watched every episode. We loved it.
But
anyway.
In terms of depth of character and just seeing the character for more than 2 minutes on the screen, I mean, it's been 6 years.
It's been
crazy.
Some of this... So this movie got pushed back from COVID.
Yes.
It got pushed back from the...
Development hell.
Yeah. So this movie was supposed to come out before Shazam. And... In the original idea, it was going to reshape the DC universe. That's why in Shazam, they're wearing different costumes. And nobody points it out. So did you see Fury of the Gods?
I still haven't seen that.
They do a flashback to when they all get their powers in the first movie in these new costumes. Like, I don't know if it's continuity graph or if it was just, because this is the new universe. But the same thing happened in the Flashpoint comics. After Barry went back and fixed it in the comics, spoiler for the comics, a lot of things were very different. So it made sense. Like, they did the whole DC, the New 52, and the DC Rebirth, and all these things. So Ezra Miller, we only knew him from Justice League. So let's talk about him in Justice League really quick, just while we're there. He was a lot of fun in Justice League.
It was fun.
He was the less serious, the less experienced superhero, just excited to be there. And he was one of the few characters that was very consistent between the Whedon cut and the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
But he has one of his greatest moments in the Snyder cut when he goes into the Speed Force and runs back through time. Now, there is time travel in this movie, and it is done very differently than it was done in the Snyder cut. So, without spoiling anything, did you have a preference for the aesthetic?
I'm going to be dead honest. I don't remember the Snyder cut.
It's basically the explosion happens and he phases through it.
Okay.
And like everything's destroyed around him and he just starts running and things start changing behind him.
I'd probably say I like that better than this one. This one was weird. I was not a huge fan of the way they did the Speed Force in this movie.
I
like how he was rewinding time. Basically.
I liked concept of it, and because the Flash did it too, where when he would travel into the Speed Force, and it would be like that blue tunnel, and you would see him trying to focus, and you'd see things in the backgrounds, like events that were happening. So it's kind of that similar vein. It's weird, and we'll talk about the weird of it in a little bit, but I really enjoyed him in the Snyder Cut, and even in Justice League, he was. Again, he was just excited to be there, and he brought heart, and he was a good counterbalance to Batman in that film. But
I'm going to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of his performance.
That's fine.
Maybe I was used to Grant Gustin.
That's very fair.
It was a different,
very
different way of doing the character, and his version of the character just bugged me.
Do you like him more after this movie?
Not really.
That's fair. That's totally fair. Let's see. Going down, second billing, Sasha Callie? I don't know how to pronounce it. I heard it pronounced. I was like,
Sasha Callie. This is her first ever movie.
Oh, is it? Wow.
First movie. She was a soap opera star.
Really? So she plays Kara Zor-El / Supergirl, and I did enjoy her in this.
I enjoyed her. I wish she had more to do.
So in the original version, she was about to have a lot more to do.
Yeah,
so we'll
talk.
But she comes in halfway through the movie, and like her action scenes are really good.
They were good. Yes.
I wanted to know more about her. Like, I think like a line about her, like maybe she was like a former military, like a soldier under General Zod, because she's like really mad that General Zod's there, like for no reason. But anyway,
she's also a lot younger than like
Henry Cavill.
Well, Henry Cavill, but I get she was that age when she was transported to.
So they've done it a lot of different ways. Like Supergirl is one of those characters that has an even more convoluted story than there's been like 6 different versions.
Like Smallville, she was that age when she went to Earth, but she's been basically
cryogenically frozen. And the same thing happened in Supergirl, the TV show. Clark got sent first. But her pod got knocked off course, and when she landed, like it was 20 years later.
Yeah.
So that's like the new thing that they do, which is fine. It works for this film. What did you think of her costume?
I liked it. It was in vein of Henry Cavill. It was fine. I enjoyed it.
I'm just heartbroken, and again, mild spoiler: that she'll never share a scene with Henry Cavill.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Because the two of them look alike.
They do. They're similar. They do look similar.
I think that's why they cast her. One of the reasons. But yeah, she kills it. But anyway, thanks for talking while I was doing something, Sean. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry. I don't
But
have
anyway,
time.
Michael Shannon reprising his role as General Zod. I was hoping he'd be in it more.
Useless.
Yeah.
I was so pissed off.
It could have been any other threat.
And I'm sorry. It looked like his face was CGI'd onto the damn character.
Yeah. I really...
A lot of the... There was a lot of my issues with this movie. There was a lot of bad CGI.
We'll talk about the CGI. We will talk about the CGI. But Michael Shannon's General Zod was awesome in Man of Steel.
In Man of Steel, he was fantastic. There was no point to him in this movie.
He also just seemed bored.
He did.
And he is literally
He's
said
openly
afterwards...
said, like, I didn't want to... Like, I wasn't going to do this movie, but Zack Snyder gave me his blessing.
And
But you could
they
tell,
gave me
I
a
think
check.
He was in that for the paycheck.
Oh, my God.
There was no substance to that role. At all.
Okay.
Sorry. It pissed me off.
I have to get another drink.
That was the freaking point of the movie, was that he was destroying Earth again. And it was dumb. It was dumb.
I will address that in our spoiler discussion and see if I can sway your opinion on that one.
All right.
But Ron Livingston as Henry Allen, who he's in it.
I would have liked if they kept what's his
Billy
name?
Crudup.
Billy Crudup. I think. Nothing against Ron Livingston. I like Ron Livingston as an actor, but Billy Crudup is a much better actor, and I just think he would have portrayed the. But he didn't do much.
Yeah. Well, so Billy Crudup was in the first movie.
In the Justice League.
In Justice League, excuse me. And in the Snyder Cut, he's in it a little bit more, but like I love his scenes with Barry and behind the glass. Like just, I
don't know if it was a scheduling thing or he just was like...
I think it was a scheduling thing.
Don't want to do it.
But it sucks because John Wesley Shipp was a great Henry Allen.
I love John
And
Wesley
an
Shipp.
even better Jay Garrick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that like... And that's the problem. It's very hard. The Flash did everything that the Flash movie does.
Mm-hmm.
Like the TV show did everything that the movie's done. And done it better.
Oh, you mean the movie did everything the TV show did?
Yeah, you know what I mean.
I
Like
gotcha. The TV show did it better.
Yeah,
I agree.
And mild spoiler: it is a shame that Eobard Thawne is not in this at all. They don't show the actual death of Nora Allen or who does it or that whole thing, but like the Flash season 1 is fantastic for all that. Like I've been rewatching it and just like literally it opens up with him and the Flash like fighting each other and like him in the yellow suit, like just so good. But anyway. Let's see. Maribel Verdú as Nora Allen. I didn't have a problem with her having like any sort of accent or anything, but half the time I had trouble understanding what she was saying.
Is that in the...
No.
No? It was just a choice? They
Just a
decided
choice.
To go with okay, that's fine. You're right. It was like, she started talking, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't...
Yeah, she's there. Kiersey Clemens is Iris West.
Absolutely nothing between the two of them. There was no chemistry at all between the two of them.
There was more chemistry in the Snyder Cut, and they don't even talk.
I mean, it was
They
like...
do reference that, though.
What?
The Snyder Cut, the car.
Yeah, where she's like, I think I saw you. I just can't remember where.
I like how they established that they were in college together, and obviously Barry's going to go on, like...
So is Iris the girl he's referring to in the coffee shop at the beginning of the movie? Like...
I think so, yeah.
But why wouldn't he just call her by name?
I don't know.
Because he's
more
just like,
fun.
where's curly-haired girl?
You play the pronoun game. But anyway, we'll talk about the opening scene though. Ante Drau, I don't even know if that's how you say it, reprises her role as
That was the
Feora.
same actress?
Yeah, same actress.
She didn't do anything either.
She didn't do anything, but it was still cool to see her.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Main reason that I want to see this movie.
Main reason, and he steals every scene that he's in.
He was fantastic.
He
it was very similar because, I mean, let's be honest. In Batman and Batman Returns, you see him fighting, but he can't do much because of that suit. I'm not gonna. It's CGI. I get it, but it's
also stunt doubles and better suits.
Better suits. But he goes off, and it's just it's like watching Yoda use a lightsaber for the first time.
My
biggest
fear was watching him go against superhumans, and not spoiling, he does not disappoint.
No.
Like, and then of course they do all the music cues. His cape looked fantastic.
I mean, he looked great in the suit when he
God.
the lighting. You see the cowl, and he goes, "Yeah,
I'm Batman."
I was just like, oh.
But I'm also glad that we got more to that character. And...
Well, I loved when you first see him.
Oh yeah,
you see the flip flops, and you're just like.
They're
going like Christian Bale, like Dark Knight Returns here. What are they doing?
He also gives one of the best explanations of not only the multiverse, but also time travel too.
Yeah.
We also have Ben Affleck uncredited reprising his role.
Meh.
Oh, I'm going to fight you on that.
That's fair.
I'm going to fight you. Jeremy Irons as Alfred.
Okay.
Gal
Gadot, I was surprised. I didn't know that one was coming.
Yeah, Jason Momoa. But I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil any of these.
Yeah.
But all right, so Sean,
Where do you want to go first? You want to do the opening scene? What do you want to do?
No, we're gonna first just non-spoiling initial thoughts.
Initial thoughts. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I was hesitant with this movie for a while, just because, as we all know, and if you've listened to this podcast and the episodes I've been on, I am not a fan of the DC films. I'm sorry, to me, they're not that good. Michael Keaton being back in this movie was the main reason why I was like steadfast. I want to see this movie. Can't wait. And he didn't, as Paul and I just said, he did not disappoint. The rest of the movie was just a fuddled mess for me. It just didn't live up to what I was hoping it would be. We'll go into it deeper. There are scenes I liked. There were moments I liked, performances I liked, but just as a whole, I was just a little disappointed. It just did not hit that bell of like, oh, this is everything I wanted it, but more.
Okay,
I got mildly below everything I wanted. I was like, ugh.
All right. So for me, I had the opposite. I had low expectations going in, and I thought it was going to rely way too much on the nostalgia and cameos, which it does.
Did.
It does, but for the most part, a lot of it works more in concept than in execution, much like a lot of the DC universe. As much as I am a DC guy, and I will fight and I will defend a lot of the DC movies,
and you've steadfast stayed with that, and I respect you for that. And you have actual good ideas as to what would have made it better. And that's what makes what you do good.
But even like we were watching Aquaman was on the other night, like that opening scene, I was like, man, this movie was way better than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. Aquaman is a better movie, but at the same time, I wanted to walk into this movie and get that. And for the most part, I did. I have some qualms with it. I really, really, truly do. But for the most part, I was very happy with this movie, especially considering it's the same thing. Like, time will tell with this one. Like, just like how when we first saw the release Justice League,
I actually liked it.
We defended it. We were like, that was actually much better than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then it started to marinate, and it started, and then after seeing the Snyder Cut, which is, I don't want to say it's the superior movie, but I think it's
a totally different movie.
It's a totally different movie, and
you can't say one's better than the other because it's a totally different movie.
I would have loved to see the Snyder Cut, the theatrical release, because we've talked about it. Most movies have some sort of director's edition, which is like a 4-hour cut, and then for the theatrical release, they'll cut it out. Christopher Nolan's notorious in that he's like, I don't have director's cuts because here's my movie.
Yeah.
But it's not an uncommon practice. It's been around forever. Releasing director's cuts too, it was always to make more money.
Still waiting for the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever.
It exists. Apparently, Kevin Smith has a copy. But anyway, I've seen bits and pieces from stuff from it. But yeah, so let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk all spoilers.
Hey guys, it's Paul, and the Misfit Faction is looking for your help. We are trying to grow not only our network, but also grow our brands, and the best way to do that is if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast. Maybe you guys have been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's something you guys have always wanted to do, but you're not sure how to get started. If you go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys will get a month of free podcasting on us. That is a gift from us. So make sure if you guys are looking to start your own show, you reach out to us and go to podbean.com/misfitfaction. Also, maybe you guys have your own online business or service that you're always looking to grow, and advertising is a very big part of that. If you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys. That's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction.
All right, we are back, and this is your official spoiler warning for The Flash. We are going to be diving into the plot, the things that we liked, the things that we didn't like, and of course, the goddamn CGI, because that is the one thing I think Sean and I are going to completely agree on. So let's start with...
Can we start with that opening scene?
Okay, yeah, we'll start with the opening scene. All right, so the movie starts off with Barry Allen waiting to get breakfast.
And he gets a call from Alfred.
So let's start off with, we're going to do the things we like,
okay,
and then we'll talk some of the things we don't like. Things that I liked. One, we've all been at that Starbucks. We've all been at that situation where it's like, hey, I'm already late for work. I don't need to hear your life story, dude. Like, and then he's the kind of guy that's going to turn the iPad around and be like 20% tip.
Yeah.
Like, get out of here. And he's still talking at the end. Like, doesn't even realize that Barry's gone.
Was that fast enough for you?
Oh, God. Then, of course, we knew Jeremy Irons was going to be in the movie. Like, he was in a bunch of the trailers and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it was that was funny.
That was good. No, I didn't. No problem with Jeremy Irons.
And
this part I have no problem with.
Which part?
The him getting breakfast and then him actually speeding to the event of what we're going to question.
So that was the other thing. They had to decide how they wanted Barry Allen's speed to look. First of all, I liked his new suit. I did not like it when I first saw it, but it grew on me. I liked how it glowed when he used his powers. I liked it had like some tech stuff to it, and it grew on me, like I said. And of course, like the kids fangirling over him. That was really funny because that's how it would be in real life. You see, that's the Flash. Oh my God. Can one of you guys throw me one of those bars?
Can you just throw me that chocolate bar?
In the name of justice. It's funny. And I really enjoyed that the Flash is actually not the joke of the Justice League, but he even says, he's like, I'm the janitor. Like, he's like putting things back together, and he's like, this is literally what you guys have me do at this point. Because normally it's Aquaman who's the butt of the jokes. Mm-hmm. But I like how Batman is literally chasing down this armored truck robbery, or the virus robbery. He's like, all this destruction's like happening behind him. He's like, Barry, go clean up my mess. What did you think of Affleck's Batman in this?
It was okay. It was I did really enjoy the
lasso of truth thing.
No. That was funny. But when he spears onto the truck and he's just being dragged along the highway, and I was just like, the one thing I guess I could say about Affleck's Batman is he's so video game Batman.
Oh yeah, he's Arkham Batman.
It's like, but I don't know if I like it on film. It just doesn't look real.
Some things that worked with him though, giving him so this happens in the daytime. Batman in the daytime has been notoriously hit or miss. Mm-hmm. I think giving him the gray and blue suit for the daytime scenes really worked. Yeah. That suit looks great. Melanie didn't like the cowl, like when he was talking, but I was like, I thought it was a cool suit. And also, it's fun to see like Batman who's like doing all the things and like being Batman, and he's like, and then Flash is like, I have to clean up all this.
Yeah,
and it's realistic, and the Bat Cycle was awesome.
Bat Cycle was nice.
It had like the battering ram that came out, like the jet that would help it redirect and stuff like that. It was almost a very Keaton like Bat Cycle, like that's the kind of Bat Cycle that Michael Keaton's Batman would drive. Where it's like shoots the grappling hook so it can turn and stuff like that, but. I enjoyed that opening scene. It shows that, the Justice League doing their Justice League stuff. And when Barry figures out he can go back in time, he also calls Bruce. And, that's another great scene.
But I think Affleck came out and said that was, his best. He thinks that was his best performance as the character in the series.
He was also most comfortable.
He was also sober.
Yeah, but also there's
I don't want to make jokes about it, but
no,
we all know he was not in a great place when he did
Justice League.
When he did Justice League or Batman v Superman.
It was the reshoots of Justice League that he was at his worst. Because you could see when you watch the Snyder cut and you see him, he's much skinnier. Mm-hmm. Like he's not as bloated and he's not as slow because he was drinking so much that he just But I really enjoyed that scene. And of course, Wonder Woman jumps in to save him, which is a great cameo. They got the music going and all that stuff. And she uses the lasso. Mm-hmm. And it was really fun. Where Batman's something like, I'm just dealing with my childhood trauma in an unhealthy way. I could be like curing poverty with all my money. He's like trying to take it off. And it's just really funny. Because he says something when they ask, are you okay? And he says something. I was like, that's weird for Batman to say. And then it cuts over and he's got that. It's still looped on his hand. It was pretty funny.
That one was good. But
Go ahead.
I have a problem with the freaking hospital falling to the ground and I'm sorry. That was stupid.
In concept, you don't usually get high stakes like that, like babies in mortal danger.
It was multiple babies. There was just one baby.
Multiple babies and the wet nurse.
Yeah.
So concept-wise, again, concept was on point. And then they also bring up the fact that Barry can't directly manipulate people with this while he's using the Speed Force to a certain degree, right? His younger self makes his older self sick. Mm-hmm. And that's an adult who's used to the Speed Force. So I really it was really funny when he's calculating everything and he's like, all right, I'm going to go right here. And he jumps and you think he's going to save one of the kids. No, he needed a candy bar. That was funny. No, that's fine, dude. It's subjective humor.
Didn't do it for me.
I liked he found creative ways to save all the kids, and like obviously he does. But oh my god, the CGI was like watching Baby Geniuses or Son of the Mask.
The dog at the end. Oh my god.
Yeah. So let's.
It was all in slow motion, obviously.
So there's no getting around it. So they've addressed this the CGI in recent interviews. Andy Muschietti, who directed it, and he's like, well, it's because it's from the Flash's perspective. Like that's just how he sees the world. Okay. That's lazy CGI, and that's a lazy. It makes sense when he's in the Speed Bowl thing, like that. I don't have a problem with because it's more of like the Speed Force manifesting these points of history. So I don't have a problem with this, like when he's like in there and like it's like all the columns and it shows all the different scenes and then they're rewinding. I didn't have a problem with the CGI there because it wasn't supposed to look real. But when you're showing like those babies again, it looked like Son of the Mask. It was rough. And then, of course, the cameos. They messed up the cameos so bad. Like, it actually broke my heart. Like, I was excited. Don't get me wrong. I was very excited to see... You see Nicolas Cage, which was great. And apparently it was him.
Yeah.
But then
it just wasn't realistic.
The Christopher Reeve one was probably the most realistic.
Yeah.
But
and him and Helen Slater. I thought those looked fairly good.
Yeah. But... God, it's rough. And here's my biggest problem. Titans just did a similar scene where Beast Boy goes into like a dimension where he sees the multiverse. And at one point, like just a red streak's going around him, and it's Grant Gustin. But it's just archival footage.
Yeah.
Like that's all you need. And they show him, they show Swamp Thing of all things, they show Shazam, and it's just stock footage. We don't always need fresh new footage. And I don't get how the show did it with Infinite Crisis and did it so well with just blink and you miss it cameos.
Yeah.
But the big budget movie couldn't do it.
No. Instead we get computer, regenerations of George Reeves, Christopher Reeve, Helen Slater, Nicolas Cage. And I was like, really? First of all, I was like, what the frick is even going on here? Like it was really confusing to me. I was gonna bitch about the CGI in the Force Bowl, but you brought up a good point, and then
that part didn't bother me. It's when Barry's seeing these other worlds.
Yeah.
And what makes even less sense is when they cut over to the other Flash, which looks surprisingly like Teddy Sears, who played Jay Garrick / Zoom.
I thought it looked more like John Wesley Shipp a little at first.
It looked like Teddy Sears, and he said that he did not film anything for it, and it was just a coincidence. I was like, it looks just like him.
Yeah.
He looked real, but nothing else did.
I know.
Like, it made no sense.
Yeah, and it was just, and it was kind of like, first of all, I was just like, what's even going on here? I knew it was all the different multiverses were converging on each other because he realized we're destroying the, again, 2013 Barry is destroying the multiverse.
So in the Speed Force, he is basically seeing all the other universes that are connected, right? Mm-hmm. So it makes sense, right? And then he's abusing this time travel so much, we find out trillions of times possibly, and it's causing the worlds to collide upon themselves. Okay, I get that. I can understand that. And all these characters are reacting to seeing their worlds starting to collide.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get it too. But in all honesty, there's no reason they could not have just gotten certain cameos paid. It's paying chump change to some of these actors.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously you can't get Christopher Reeve, but Helen Slater's still around. Nicolas Cage is still around.
You know what would have been?
Well, it was him, but they
de-aged him, and this de-aging is a hit or miss art.
What I found funny about that, I was just like, wow, you guys are really hitting to a certain audience here, because there was a lot of people that are not even going to realize that was even a thing. Mm-hmm. That he was supposed to be Superman.
Yeah, that was a very Kevin Smith specific audience.
Yeah.
So people knew Christopher Reeve and Helen Slater. Mm-hmm. Christopher Reeve more.
George Reeves. George Reeves probably. Adam West.
Adam West was fun.
But he was the only Batman you saw.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
in all honesty, you know what would have been legendary? And I know you love when I think of just a simple, better way. I had Grant Gustin's character suddenly flew in there and tackled one of the berries and said, "You need to stop," before just fading away.
I mean, you did it in Crisis. You got freaking...
I hypothesized for a long time that scene was going to be in this movie, and I'm sad that I was wrong.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I remember when we watched Crisis, you had already seen it because you were re-showing it to me, but I was just like, and all of a sudden, why am I blanking on his name?
Grant Gustin.
No.
Ezra Miller.
Ezra Miller just pops out. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
They got him to do that? That's pretty impressive, I have to admit.
3 minutes of footage that
It
made the entire thing worth it. Yeah. But even that, they shot new footage with Burt Ward, who played the reporter Knox.
Oh, Robert
Wool. Alan Richardson did Hawk. The kid... It's gonna drive me crazy. The kid who plays Jason Todd, I really like him too. But Swamp Thing, like they did all the Doom Patrol, like they did all, and it was 4 seconds of just footage, and they could have done it, and I don't know why they didn't.
I don't know either.
And like I said, it would have been great if when all these worlds are colliding, and like Barry's arguing with Barry, and then that other like the dark Barry shows up. If Grant Gustin literally just zoomed in and tried to stop it, and then just faded out of existence, like. That would have been awesome. Or even better, Oliver Queen making a cameo.
Something.
Like, they completely ignored the TV stuff, which was a detriment to them. And then all these other superheroes that they have.
Well, you didn't avoid the TV stuff because you made the Jay Garrick character look like a TV version of him.
Which is wild.
I mean, well, no matter what, because you've never had a film version of that character. So it either would have been him or John Wesley Shipp.
The thing that would have made this movie legendary, like would have saved it no matter how bad it was otherwise, is if at the end, when Barry was basically fighting himself, other versions of Barry Allen came to help, or other versions of the Flash came to help.
Yeah.
If John Wesley Shipp and Grant Gustin and even like Wally West and all these characters from the shows and other versions showed up there, even the kid who played Impulse on
Smallville,
like all just came to help. That theater would have lost its mind.
You think?
Not to like an Avengers Endgame level.
I'm just more thinking of the audience that would have been there. I mean, that's a selective audience that followed all the TV shows religiously like that.
I think if it had happened like during like the early screening on a Thursday, that theater would light up.
That audience would have been good.
But they missed out on that opportunity.
They did.
Let's talk about some of the things though that I liked, because I will argue that I really liked the two Barry dynamic. I didn't like it at first because I was like, man, he's freaking annoying. Then I realized, how would I interact as a 35-year-old man with my 18-year-old self? I literally sat there and I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine. Like, what would I say to like, if I had to do something important and serious with my 18-year-old self, I don't know if I could do it. I will say that the young Barry was jarringly annoying at times, but I also had to... That was an 18-year-old version of Barry Allen who had no strife in his life. Nothing bad ever happened to him. He grew up with both of his parents. He didn't even have his powers yet, no responsibility. His mom was still doing his laundry. Like, he had the perfect life. So, of course, he was entitled. An entitled douche. But then to see him... He progresses throughout the story, and he turned into the bad guy.
Mm-hmm. I saw that coming.
Yeah, I did too. Again, I was really upset that Eobard Thawne was not involved in any capacity, but in Flashpoint, it does turn out that Barry's the villain, you know, and I get it for the sake of storytelling, it makes sense, but it was, I really enjoyed that dynamic, as annoying as it sometimes was.
See, I couldn't get past just the two of them together. It was just too much. It was just a lot of Ezra Miller.
It was a lot of Ezra Miller, but again, I put that on the back burner, right?
No, it had nothing to do with him off the screen. But I was never a fan of his portrayal of the character, even in the Justice League.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't care for it. So having two of them, and one just being overtly over the top.
So I was able to differentiate in my mind enough that I was like, I like the main continuity one. He was very different than he was in Justice League.
I agree. He's grown. He's now been doing this for a long time, and
he's more mature. He's more confident. Like, you know, and there's some great comedy.
He's still very like awkward.
Awkward. Yes, I think.
Like Grant Gustin was sure of himself, you know, in a way.
Not after like the second season. That's when he finally got that confidence boost towards the end.
I still felt like in the first season he was still fairly confident.
He was confident in his job, which they also portray in this. Like. And I like that this Barry's like very like Justice, like you're rushing through these things. You got to take your time. You have to look at this, like, and which is funny because, you know, take your time. But some of his best, Ezra Miller does some of his best acting in this. whether it's interacting with his younger self or the scene where he goes back to put the tomatoes back. Him and his mom, which Melanie and I are like, who would hug a random stranger?
Yeah,
but it fits in with Nora Allen's Italian. Like, it's like she's like a motherly type. It's still weird, but like for the sake of storytelling, it happens. But Ezra Miller does do really well in this movie, acting wise, better than some of his other. Do you ever see We Need to Talk About Kevin?
No.
Horrifying.
Really?
He plays a school shooter in it. Yeah, but that's where he got his
Well, I know he was in that movie with Emma Watson.
Perks Being a Wallflower. He's very good in that too. But yeah, so it's weird. Like, we talked about the CGI, we got that out of the way.
I just felt the plot line. It was I'm helping Batman and Wonder Woman, and then I just want to go back in time and save my mom.
Well, it's because he accidentally does it.
He does it, but it just felt like there was nothing else happening to draw him towards doing that. It was
I'll argue it. So he realizes he can do it, right? Yeah. And he talks to Batman. He's like, I could fix it. I could fix what happened with you. It's not so much I'm going to go back in time and do this right now. It's the things that I can do, the possibilities. Because he's a scientist also. He's got an inquisitive mind, and but it's when he realizes that the footage that he was relying on to get his father out of jail didn't help. That's when he makes that decision, because he's about to lose his dad again completely. So I get that. I thought it was worse in the TV show, where like he just decides after like his dad dies, and he's like, well, I'm gonna go back and fix everything.
Yeah.
That was a little out of left field. And we talked about that, Ronnie and I talked about that in the Flashpoint episode. But so I get it. He had a catalyst. That was the final straw. Like, he was like, Dad, you're going to get, I think he allowed himself to believe that his dad was going to get out. And yeah. So I get that. Especially if I figured out right now that I could time travel, I don't have trauma in my life besides, my parents' divorce for the most part. As far as I know, I should go to a therapist. But for me, if I discovered I had the ability to travel through time right now and change something, I wouldn't not do it. It's just finding out you can do something and you just do it. So I get what you're saying, but I disagree.
That's fair.
So I also enjoyed that they gave him a reason to stay. Because he's like, oh my God, you're getting your powers in 4 minutes. Because it's a causal loop. It made sense at the end. The other Flash pushed him out specifically at that point so that he would be created. Because you can't have that Flash if Barry doesn't go back in time and interacts with his younger self.
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
I know, causal loops are tough. But anyway, I enjoyed all that stuff. There was a lot of physical comedy in this movie.
There was. Most
of it landed. Some of it didn't. But the scene where he tackles the younger version of himself, I love when things happen, like the I Hate You Badgernath, like things that don't always happen main screen. But yeah, and then he brings him to, we gotta get your powers. We need to do this. Otherwise, if you don't get your powers, then do I not get my powers? Because he doesn't know. He doesn't know what happens if he goes back to his time right now.
I will say, when he loses his powers and they're in the police station, and he starts to try to run, and he's just running
stupidly. Well, because they made fun of how he ran in Justice League.
Yeah,
but
I still don't like the way he runs.
No, I get it, but it was better in this movie. But
it's still weird. It's like his hand motions are
it's like he's ice skating.
Yeah, it's like
like he's using the Speed Force to throw himself more.
Yeah,
but and then when he tries to face with the wall, and he just. Doing wall things like that, where a character runs into something solid, usually it looks really fake, like the wall will wobble. It's just slightly. It did not look fake, and it looked painful as hell. But
hey, you lost a tooth. No, I think it's yours.
Yeah, but it was also a testament to Barry that even though he lost his powers, even though all these things happened, he still was like, no, we can't let. This is also the day that Zod, invaded Earth.
Yeah, I mean that was.
I really liked the shot of the scene of him. I was there.
That was good.
I tried to help, but I couldn't.
That was good. No, I will admit that's up there with the the Ben Affleck running into the dust cloud in Batman.
That's still one of the best superhero scenes.
I will admit that was a great scene, and him describing it, and then you see it when, of course, he's in the air with the kid, and he's using his Speed Force to obviously prevent the slam to the ground. but he knows what's going to happen to the father, and he literally, he's like,
he has to decide to make that. He makes that choice.
He knows what's going to happen, so he covers the kid's face. He's like, I do not need to see that.
God, it's a great scene.
And you see the kids later on, the father and the son later on in the movie. You don't obviously know what happens, but that was good harking that, because we've never had him tied into the events of Man of Steel before, so that was cool. I liked that.
They do a really good job that event in the Snyder universe, because this is a sequel to the Snyder Cut. I'll say it.
It is. I'm not denying that.
They mention the scene with him and Iris, and also when he's going back in time and you see Henry Cavill, you then see Jason Momoa's Aquaman pointing at him, which is when he ran into him when fighting Superman in the Snyder Cut. But they use that scene. The scene of Zod's invasion is the catalyst for the entire DC universe, or the DCEU. And every movie since then has been tied into it. I think that's a good idea.
It's a good idea.
And they've always done it really well, both in the original movie,
Batman vs.
Superman, and now this. Yeah. And then obviously, like, Suicide Squad was a direct result of Superman. And so I think that kind of continuity was actually really good. And it's something that Marvel was lacking for a long time until Civil War, where they're like, hey, look at all these things that you guys did. But anyway, so let's talk about Michael Keaton.
Yes.
What did you think of? Did they do him justice?
They did him justice. I will agree. I will say they did him justice. Were there weird things about his portrayal? Yeah, he was playing it.
He was playing it. So basically, in this story, we find out that
He's
Gotham
been retired. Gotham is now the safest city in the world.
And there are no metahumans in this universe.
No. So
the best was calling Tamora Morrison. That was really funny.
Yeah.
But no metahumans, no superpowers in this world, with the exception of now Barry.
Yeah. So Batman has been gone since the 90s at least, and again, as we said earlier, you meet him and he's like this old hippie-looking, curmudgeon, guy who could still fight because puts on that nice little show with his flip-flops, which is great. The mansion's a mess. It's all like dust, cobwebs everywhere.
Him and Barry have some of the best scenes.
Him and Ezra Miller worked well together. I was kind of surprised.
There were two scenes in particular. One, when Barry's on the computer and he's like
talking to him.
He's like, "I know you're watching," and like he talks to him. Because he even says, he's like, "In my world, Bruce Wayne is the closest thing to a best friend I have."
Yeah.
And I like that, because in the comics, Bruce Wayne has immense respect for Barry Allen, like a lot of respect. And I think he even said at one point, he's like, had my parents not been murdered, Barry Allen's the kind of person I would have loved to be, like grow up to be, or something along those lines. I might be paraphrasing. And then the second is when they're sitting down and he's like, you can go to any world you want. Why would you go here? Or why would you stay here? He's like, because this is the world that my parents are still, like, my mom's still alive. And they have some really good chemistry, more than he and Iris have.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, Michael Keaton, though, you get his motivations, you get why he decides, hey, I need to get into this fight.
So now, was this? I don't know if you know this, but is this version of Batman the Batman that was supposed to be in Batgirl?
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk about that when we talk about the alternate endings.
Okay.
Because yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. So I mean, the music was great. Him in the suit was great. I loved when they're flying and he, drops and he's flying with his cape. I mean, there were things you saw him do as Batman that obviously you never could see him do in the first two movies because they're over 30 years old.
Or even better, there are things that he did in those movies that they added
made it better.
Like when because he did the glider cape in the first couple of movies, but this movie, oh my god, it looks great. And then when he drops in and he's just whipping because he doesn't necessarily fight everyone, but he's whipping his batarangs. He does the one where it like bounces off and hits somebody. So good. And then when he actually fights the giant Kryptonian, I forget his name. He actually has a name, but he wins.
Yeah.
I really wish that they had mentioned at some point, like, these Kryptonians aren't as strong because they haven't been on Earth as long as Superman has. A line like a simple expositional line would have gone a long way in that regards.
But other than that, he did well. I mean, the only line I thought was a little forced was the "Let's get nuts."
Apparently, Keaton improvised that line and then fought to have it in there.
Okay.
So, Yeah, because
I love that line from the original movie because it's so not Bruce Wayne.
that whole scene is not Bruce Wayne.
It's Michael Keaton.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Beetlejuice coming out of him. I mean, that's what it sounded like when I always loved that. So the fact that he brought that line back into this movie, it just seemed like the wrong moment. It was just like there would feel like could have found a better moment for that line.
Yeah.
But if he ad-libbed it, okay. But I still thought it was a little forced.
Yeah.
But everything else about him, I thought was great, and I knew he was going to die.
So it happens, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
But then Supergirl dies. I was like, oh wow, a little graphically too.
Yeah.
Both times, like they drain her because in this world she has the Codex, and so they die. And I'm like, oh man, because that action set piece was really good. Like seeing the Flash do some of his other abilities and being able to fight Kryptonians was really cool.
Yeah.
And seeing the other Barry kind of stumbling to do it was cool too.
But I mean, they immediately were like, "Oh, we can go back in time. We could save them." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, so they're gonna be fine." And then, of course, they prevent the first way Batman dies.
But then it happens again.
But he dies a different way now. Doesn't prevent the way Supergirl dies. She still gets
actually
killed.
Before we jump into that part, one of my favorite things is when Ezra Miller tries to turn his head in his makeshift Flash suit, and the mask stays there.
It's just there.
And you actually see him; he rips off part of the cowl, so he can turn his head. I was like, "That's actually really funny."
I thought he was gonna go full yellow for that costume at first. I was like,
again. I was hoping.
I thought that when it first
there was a big fan theory that Barry was actually Eobard Thawne the whole time.
Oh.
In the comics, Eobard Thawne actually changed his face to look like Barry Allen because he was so obsessed with him. But let's talk about the Dark Flash. What were your thoughts on the Dark Flash?
Was that actually Ezra Miller? Because it didn't look anything like him.
It didn't look anything like him. I don't know. Probably.
But yeah, I kind of saw it coming. It was it was all right.
Again,
the effects just didn't look all that well. Just
it was all right.
And the plot line was just kind of like
it made sense for the plot, like, and it was the catalyst that stopped Barry from like I need to fix things, even though he doesn't 100% fix things.
Well, I think a big factor in the other Barry's, he's just relentless in wanting to go back in time and fix this. I think he obviously had a little crush on Kara because he just was. You saw
our children are going to want to see this. Your children. See, when that line was in the trailer, I thought he was just talking about him and his future self's kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he definitely had a thing for Supergirl.
I think he definitely had a thing for Supergirl. So
just like how Barry had a thing for Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Hi, Barry. I'm Diana. That's not right. But all right, let's talk about the ending. So there are.
Can we talk more about Zod though?
Yes, I know that upset you.
Just useless. That just again,
it could have been any villain.
It could have been any villain, but if you weren't gonna give him much to do, why was he in the movie?
Yeah.
Literally, he doesn't take his helmet off. It looks like it's CGI face on his body.
I guarantee he probably wasn't there for most of the filming, which is a shame.
Bothered me.
I know, but which is a shame because like he was so good in Man of Steel. He was a great villain, and I like Michael Shannon, I really do. All right, let's talk about the 3 versions of the ending that they had. Are you ready?
Yeah, we're doing the 2 that didn't show up, and then we'll do the one that actually shows up.
Correct.
Last.
So originally, the movie was supposed to end with Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman in the main continuity.
Okay.
That's why Michael Keaton was going to be in the Batgirl film, because he was going to take over the role of Batman in the main universe, and Supergirl was going to take over the role of Superman in the main universe. So the court scene was supposed to have the 2 of them there supporting Barry.
So was Supergirl going to be in Batgirl?
No, but they were going to do some spin-off movies with her.
Okay.
Apparently DC has been in talks with her to reprise the role. I'll be okay if they want to use her for the Supergirl role. They just have to explain it the right way. Because I do want to see more of her. I really do. And she was so different than as much as I loved Melissa Benoist as Supergirl. And that's another shame that they didn't get Melissa Benoist and Tyler Hoechlin to play their respective roles.
I feel like they don't have respect for the TV.
It's weird. Even though they saved Superman and Lois.
Yeah, but that's again. I don't know if that's. I don't know who made the decisions on this
CW
movie.
did on that one.
Yeah,
but who knows? But so that was the original ending. That got leaked too. I knew about that well beforehand, and it was a shame because I was like, "That's stupid." As much as I love Michael Keaton, I love Michael Keaton's Batman. he can't carry a franchise anymore. Like, I hate to say it, Michael Keaton's old.
Yeah, he's over 70.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I totally agree with you. I mean, I would love to have seen him in more films, but
he was supposed to be in this new Batgirl film, and he
no sense.
He filmed things like the whole movie was done. J.K. Simmons though was Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, no.
I'd like to see those two together though.
That would have been interesting.
But so then the second ending, they had Affleck. Oh no, excuse me. They had Henry Cavill, who filmed same time he was filming for Black Adam. He filmed the cameos for this, and Wonder Woman in the courtroom with Supergirl, and I want to say
Aquaman.
No, stop. Stand by. Hold on, because there's actually a section on it.
It's interesting how, again, they just can't seem to get anything going like correctly here. It just seems like they're always second guessing themselves or making the wrong decisions about what they want to do. They can't just let the directors make the movies they want to make.
Yeah, it was Cavill, Godot, Supergirl, and it doesn't say who the Batman is. Whatever. And then finally they made it to
What we got.
You
had a problem with that? See, I thought that was great. I didn't expect it in that context, though.
Right. I mixed emotions, right? We're at this point where
nostalgia
and legacy characters and all these things. And it was a funny scene. And George Clooney
Spoiler!
We're in the spoiler section.
I'm just saying.
Dick, that was so loud. But George Clooney reprises his role as Bruce Wayne, and you hear him on the phone. You're like, no. And then he walks out, and you're like, oh my god. And it's funny, and it's, you know,
who the F is this guy?
Does he drop the? No,
he does.
That's right. He does drop the F-bomb. Say what you will, like Marvel waited like 12 years and 30 movies to finally drop an actual F-bomb.
Yeah.
Even though Groot said one first.
That's true.
But I have no problem with some of these characters. It made sense too.
It does. I think this puts a hole in the Snyderverse. Like this just ends.
It's done. The Snyderverse, well, for the most part, you still have Aquaman coming out because he does cameo at the end, and people are speculating that he seems a little different than he did at the end of the, because he's like that drunk, and he's like, take this, use this to barter. This is Atlantean treasure. I still think it fits in the vein of Arthur Curry. I had no problem with it. But it was a funny scene, like him trying to.
But it meant
nothing.
It had nothing to the.
I have no problem though with end credit scenes that are just more.
No, we've established that with Marvel.
Yeah,
like they went.
They don't always need to be 100%. Here's the next part of the story.
That started with Avengers with the shawarma scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, and then you got Howard the Duck, all that. The mid-credit scene was usually the scene that would propel the storyline and show you what's coming next, and then the end credit scene would be, you know, something silly, something funny that, you know, would just make you laugh. That's why when I texted you, I was like, "Is there an end credit scene?" And you were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, let me wait." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
It was fine.
Yeah,
it's a fine end credit scene. There have been way worse.
That's true.
All right.
I was spoiled, the George Clooney.
I was too.
Thanks. I just didn't know where it was going to happen. So I was like, are we going to see like a bunch of guys dressed as Batman?
So even worse, I was scrolling Facebook, and normally on the Thursday you're safe, but I guess this movie premiered in other countries, and a suggested for you popped up, and it was literally the photos of that scene. I was like, what? So it does no context, no nothing, but like people were pissed. Like I was reading through the comments, they're like, why would you post this? Like this movie hasn't even come out yet. Yeah. Like, so yeah, people were pissed. But
I was genuinely happy by it because you know what?
I know you have a lot of love for Batman and Robin.
It's not a lot of love. It's just more. It's just funny.
It's funny. That was how a cameo should be sometimes.
It's also because George Clooney has become such a powerhouse of an actor since that movie,
and he's still. It's funny, like
and he still apologizes for it. He's not. He doesn't act as if he's above it. He legitimately is like, I destroyed that franchise, and I'm like, George, you didn't destroy the franchise. The studio destroyed the franchise. You just weren't the right choice for the character. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I find, and the fact that he did it is great. The fact that they thought about it was great. I was like, okay, I give respect that they wanted to go there. But by using that ending, I was like, okay, the Snyderverse is done. Now, you said Aquaman obviously is still coming out. I can't imagine that's going to add anything to the Snyderverse that is going to, continue this. It's got to be done.
It's done. That's it.
Yeah.
Hate to say it. Loved it. But they might still take things into this new universe.
Maybe. I mean, is Ezra Miller going to continue on as the Flash?
Supposedly.
He's got the backing of the director. He's got the backing of actors.
And also,
seems like the studio's behind him.
Also, Andy Muschietti. Well, they put a lot of money and a lot of resources into Ezra Miller, unfortunately. Yeah. And it already failed once with what's it called, the Fantastic Beasts franchise.
I don't even.
Yeah, but anyway, so
who was he in Fantastic Beasts?
He played like. Did you see the first one?
I've not seen any of them.
So he plays like a character that you find out is actually related to the Dumbledores, and like it's stupid. But I only saw the first one. But anyway, what was I going to say? So moving forward, we have Aquaman coming out. Joss Whedon has established that Blue Beetle will be the first DCU character.
That looks stupid.
How dare you? I think it looks fantastic.
Really?
That is a comic book costume come to life. That suit is amazing.
I will say George Lopez saying Batman's a fascist was funny.
Oh my god! Well, they did that in Peacemaker too. I'll show you the scene. But you have so Blue Beetle's coming out, and it is the first character of the DCU. But Superman Legacy is the first DCU movie.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But you have Aquaman coming out, and I have a feeling they're going to keep certain aspects of this because Andy Muschietti's going to do Batman Brave and the Bold.
Oh, really?
He got tapped to direct it. Oh, right. There's a big push for our boy Jensen Ackles to get the role of Batman. I'd be okay with it.
That'd be interesting.
I'd be okay. He did voice acting for it, and he was pretty good.
What? So it depends on where Batman is in his life. I mean, how old is Jensen Ackles? He's got to be over 40.
45?
45?
Yeah.
Right.
But this is a Batman there's Nightwing's established, and they're doing Damian Wayne, his kid, so he's got a... I don't have a problem with a Batman that's been around for a while. Like, we've seen different levels of that kind of Batman. And also, Batman's a lot like Spider-Man. We don't need to see his story again.
I agree with... I'm not... That's fine. I'm just more curious where in his, status of timeline where you're going to pick up. Because, I mean, Jensen Ackles is not 25. He's 45. So, it's definitely going to be a middle-aged Batman.
Which I'm fine with.
That's fine. We got that with Affleck. We got that with, all the Batmans, honestly. They were all in their 40s, basically,
pretty much,
when they did the movies, except for Clooney. I think Clooney was still in his 30s.
Really?
I would guess.
I don't know. But, it's a lot in the air. But let's do Star City ratings for The Flash.
You go first.
I'm going to give it a 3.5.
Okay.
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. It was a good time, etc. Like, I mentioned my qualms, especially the CGI, but like only half the CGI, if that makes sense. Other things I really enjoyed. The dynamic between the two Barrys was a lot of fun, but I'm going to give it a 3.5. It was well above average for me, but it didn't blow my socks off.
I'm going to go 2.5.
Completely average.
Average movie. I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm gonna rewatch. I don't need rewatchability. Maybe once, just for the sake of seeing it again. There were some good parts to it. Like I said, Michael Keaton was a blast to watch on the screen. In that batsuit,
the music
alone. There was a lot of missed opportunities with this movie. I felt they could have done so much more.
Yeah,
if you really wanted to. It still makes no sense why Henry Cavill was not in this movie.
Oh, that's James Gunn.
I know,
I hate to say it.
I don't get. I just don't get it. Like, if you have Gal Gadot in the movie, you have Ben Affleck in the movie, you have Jason Momoa in the movie, you have Ezra Miller in the movie, but it makes no sense.
It almost feels like he has like a real hatred against Henry Cavill.
I don't know, but is he like gearing up for his Superman? He doesn't want.
Which I can see, but
that makes no sense.
Okay.
I'm just saying, it makes no sense. And I like James Gunn. I hope he does well. But it's just like, are you doing this just because you're like, oh, we got a new Superman coming out, we don't want to confuse the audience? I'm like, the audience is already freaking confused with this universe.
So confused.
Like, come on.
I can't keep track anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Pathetic.
I don't know where I am.
I furthermore just believe that just DC movies, until I'm proven otherwise, I just don't believe they're going to be any good. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong with Blue Beetle or with Aquaman or whatever. But there's always something about these movies that just don't add up. Just don't hit the nail in the head. Just don't do it all. And it's a shame.
All right. So we have our fan feedback Friday. And we only got one response, unfortunately. But there's our friend Alex, who we love, and he gave this movie a 3.5 out of 5, and it should have came out way sooner. So our good friend Alex.
When was this movie originally supposed to come out? Like originally,
like 2019, I think.
Really?
Maybe 2020, like something wild like that. Yeah.
It's a shame.
It is a shame.
Because I mean, if this movie had come out at the height of the DCU, I think it would have been a totally different reaction.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I just think now, because everybody's just so fed up with everything about what's going on with DC, it's just like now it's just a punching bag for jokes and it's like all that stuff.
It's a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. I mean, listen, I never had any ill will towards the DC universe. It's just I just didn't find their movies all that great.
Speaking of which, did you lose your mind at the Eric Stoltz thing?
That was interesting. It was funny that they did that.
I thought of you as soon as because I had to explain it to Melanie.
Yeah.
Because that for those of you guys who don't know, Eric Stoltz was the original Marty McFly.
He was Marty McFly filmed for 2 weeks. There is actual footage of him on the DVDs if anyone has the special edition DVDs. And and he was let go because Michael J. Fox became available. And that was actually, but again, so it just, I was like, I understand the movies are about time travel, but it was like, Endgame already did a Back to the Future reference, so why are we doing another Back to the Future
Because Back to the Future is the definitive time travel
I get it, but you could have done any movie. It didn't have to be a time
I thought
travel
they did
movie.
a better job doing the Eric Stoltz thing.
It was funny. Don't get me
funny.
wrong, it was funny, but it just felt like I've heard this joke before somehow.
Your joke.
I know, but it's like you could come up with something else.
That's fair.
But I agree. I was like, oh, okay, and the guy had a tattooed on his thigh.
Yeah, that was a little.
He freaking stretches his leg out to make it look. It's upside down. I was like, well, not anymore.
Not if I do this. So weird. But that's going to wrap us up for today. If you guys want to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, you can find us on social media on Facebook every Friday between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. We always post a Fan Feedback Friday. You can also find us on all the social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those things. Just make sure you type in the Multiverse Fan Cast or the Misfit Faction, and odds are you'll find some of our stuff. But that is going to wrap us up for tonight. As always, I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
And we'll be back in a flash.
Hopefully better.